Hey beautiful souls, welcome back. It is so good to have you here as we continue our exploration into the power of now by Eckhart Tolle. Over the past few episodes, we've delved into the transformative principles of presence, releasing the grip of time, taming the ego, and the power of surrender and acceptance. Today, we'll be uncovering one of the most profound aspects of Tolle's teachings, transcending the mind. Welcome to Spiritual Midwife, the podcast that tenderly guides you through the transformative journey of spiritual awakening and personal development towards the ultimate destination of soul sovereignty. I'm Claire Attio, a medicine woman and dedicated guide to the profound realm of soul sovereignty, and you are listening to Spiritual Midwife. This principle invites us to move beyond our thoughts, patterns, and habitual thinking, letting go of identification with the mind to experience a deeper awareness. Many of us experience the mind as a constant flow of thoughts, ideas and worries, but as Tolle teaches, these thoughts are not our true essence. In fact, by learning to observe our thoughts rather than becoming entangled within them, we can access a more authentic, peaceful state of being. So what does it mean to transcend the mind? Transcending the mind isn't about rejecting thoughts or avoiding thinking altogether. Instead, it's about shifting from identifying with those thoughts to observing them. When we believe we are our thoughts, we constantly react to the mind's stories, the worries, the judgments, and this can lead to stress, anxiety, and a sense of being trapped in a constant stream of mental anguish. To transcend the mind is to step back from the mental noise and recognize that we are the observer of these thoughts, not the thoughts themselves. By cultivating a sense of inner space, that breath, that stepping back, we can notice thoughts as they arise without being pulled into them. This allows us to experience true awareness, connecting to a state of peace and clarity that exists beyond the thinking mind. Let's look at how transcending the mind shows up in everyday life. These pending examples can help you, help me, see how this principle might work in our own experiences. Imagine you're lying in bed and suddenly thoughts about an upcoming project at work flood your mind. Worries like, what if I'm not prepared? Or what if something goes wrong? It can start to take over. When we identify with the mind, we get wrapped up in these thoughts, feeling anxiety and tension. I don't know about you, but when I always know when I've gone into the mind, when I've been sucked into that vortex of my own thoughts, because my shoulders rise and the tension starts to build in my back, in my upper back, in my neck. We all have body telltale signs that allow us to know that we have been sucked into that vortex of those thoughts. It's about tuning into our bodies, taking notice of what's going on, being conscious of it. And when we identify with the mind in that way, and we've been sucked into those thoughts, and that anxiety starts, it's real. It's scenarios that are happening in the now, even though they're in the mind. Transcending the mind in this moment would involve observing these thoughts without getting entangled with them, without having those emotional responses. And you might say to yourself, I notice that I'm worrying about the future, and gently bring your attention back to the present. You can even focus on your breath to anchor yourself. By simply observing rather than reacting, you separate yourself from the mind's tendency to jump into future problems. Thus, you allow yourself to create peace in the present. Let's take another example. Let's say someone says something critical or harsh to you. The mind often kicks in with a flood of defensive or judgmental thoughts, like they don't understand me, or how dare they say that. Our reactions in those moments often stem from an identification with the mind's desire to defend and protect. Transcending the mind here means observing those defensive thoughts without acting on them. By taking a step back, you can choose to respond calmly rather than react emotionally. You might ask yourself, is it necessary to engage in this thought right now? This creates space to respond from a place of peace rather than a knee-jerk reaction. And finally, consider the self-critical thoughts that we all experience. Thoughts like, I'm not good enough, or I shouldn't have made that mistake. That's one I can really identify with. I'm very harsh with myself. When we're identifying with the mind, these thoughts feel personal and painful, as if they define who we are. In moments like this, transcending the mind involves recognizing that these thoughts are patterns and not truths. By observing them and acknowledging, I see that my mind is being self-critical. You give yourself space to let these thoughts pass without holding on to them. This practice can be incredibly freeing. It is incredibly freeing. It is also a practice. And it's a practice that helps you to break out of negative self-judgment and see yourself with compassion and acceptance. Transcending the mind also deepens our understanding of the 4 agreements, which we've covered in previous episodes. Let's see how this principle enhances each agreement. Be impeccable with your word. When we transcend the mind, we become more mindful of our words, speaking from a place of clarity rather than reaction. We can pause, observe our thoughts, and speak with intention instead of responding impulsively to fleeting thoughts. Don't take anything personally. By observing our thoughts instead of becoming absorbed by them, we can let go of personalizing others' words or actions. We recognize that people act from their own minds, and we are free from taking their behavior to heart. Don't make assumptions. When we transcend the mind, we release the habit of making assumptions, which are often based on the incomplete thoughts and stories the mind creates. This frees us to seek understanding rather than relying on mental assumptions that might not even be true. Always do your best. Doing our best becomes easier when we're not driven by the mind's judgments, comparisons, or fears. Instead, we bring our whole presence to each moment, allowing our best to emerge naturally without the weight of overthinking. By seeing our thoughts as transient and releasing the need to engage in mental chatter, we find more peace, more clarity, and alignment with each of these profound agreements. So some practical steps to transcending the mind. Practice mindful awareness. Begin by simply observing your thoughts without judgment. Turning up that volume, as I like to say. Turn up the volume. Listen to what your thoughts are saying. Imagine you're watching clouds pass in the sky. Thoughts come and go, but they don't define the sky. Try setting aside just a few minutes each day to observe your thoughts noticing them without attaching to them. And it does take practice. Sometimes we can get lost in them. Sometimes we can have a fleeting cloud float by of thoughts, and we kind of just hook into it and we go with it for a while. But when you do that, unhook yourself. When you become consciously aware, unhook yourself and bring yourself back to center. Focus on the breath. The breath is a powerful anchor to the present. When you catch yourself lost in thoughts, gently bring your focus to your breath. Notice each inhale and exhale. This simple shift can help you move out of the thinking mind and into the state of peace of awareness. Use the question, is this helpful? When you notice a repetitive or unhelpful thought pattern, ask yourself, is this helpful? This simple question can create space between you and the thought, allowing you to decide whether to engage with it or not. One of the ones that I like to use here with this questioning is, how is this serving me? How is this serving me? And if it isn't serving me, I just let it go. Practice the body awareness, and I talked about this at the beginning. Notice what's going on in your body. The mind and the body are closely connected, so grounding yourself in physical sensations can help you move beyond mental patterns. Try bringing your attention to your hands, to your feet, or the feeling of a body against your chair. Notice what's going on in your body. Notice whether you feel like you're flying high or whether you're deeply rooted into the ground. And if you're flying high, imagine roots sprouting from your feet digging into the ground. And if your body's halfway entrenched in the ground, imagine yourself with a lighter air, just lifting yourself a little bit so you create that balance. The practice helps you anchor in the present and release you from the grip of the mental activity. Cultivate gratitude in the present moment. And gratitude comes up every single time, and it's such a powerful tool. When you notice your mind wandering, try to return to the present with gratitude. Notice one thing you appreciate in the current moment. It's simple, but it's powerful, and it brings such a profound state of contentment and peace. Don't underestimate its power. So, wrapping up, transcending the mind isn't about eliminating our thoughts, it's about discovering that our essence goes far beyond them. When we cultivate the practice of observing rather than identifying with our minds, we open up space of profound peace, clarity, and inner freedom. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the heart of Eckhart Tolle's teachings. If today's message resonated with you, please consider sharing it with a friend or a loved one who might benefit. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. Take care, sweet souls, until next time. This is Spiritual Midwife signing off.